All right, so welcome everybody. This is WPL coach referee meeting to kind of kick off the second half. And I invited Megan Braun to come and talk to us first about disciplinary, and then we will get to the referee stuff. So Megan, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. So I am overseeing discipline for WPL. I'm very excited about it. And essentially what the process is if there is a situation where there is a red card, or if it is a misconduct violation or a citing, what happens is I receive the information, I review it, and then this is a process that for a lot of people is new, even though it's not new at all, but it's following the USA Rugby as well as World Rugby disciplinary process under Regulation 817. And so essentially what happens is I receive the referee report, or it could be from the citing commissioner, and then it is reviewed. What happens is then I will then reach out to you as coaches, since you're the contacts I have. I will let you know that there is a situation with one of your players, and then I'm going to ask to have a pre-hearing call with you and your player. Always best if the player has counsel with them, meaning bringing a coach, or if a coach isn't available, bringing a captain onto these hearings. And then in the pre-hearing call, what I do is I just simply go over what is going to happen in the hearing. And in the hearing is your player's opportunity to have their voice heard. These hearings are very important that your players attend. The reasoning for that is, number one, I can hear the player side of the story. Number two, I will then ask the player a series of questions to find out some mitigating factors, playing history, asking the coach, give me some examples of the players' value to your club. What do they do? Really speak for them in terms of like their character, both on and off the field. These are opportunities for me to hear from you and from the player to help take that, what could be, let's say, for example, a 4-week sanction, and I can mitigate that down 50%. That is the most I can do, is mitigate all the way down to 50% per World Rugby regulations. But having your player on the call is really important, because it allows me to ask them those questions to really help get a deep dive into how can I help them get back on the playing field a lot faster. Just so you know, I did have a situation where a player didn't show. This was not in the WPL, but a prime example is the player could have sat out for 2 weeks. He decided not to show up for the hearing, and now he's sitting out for 4 weeks. So making sure somebody is on the call and then for the hearing for the player is so important, because it gets them back on the field faster if there is mitigating factors that I can use. Then what happens is, once we have the hearing, I will then make a decision. I will send that decision in writing within 24 hours. After that, your player has an opportunity to review it. And then if they would like to appeal it, they are always allowed to appeal it based on specific circumstances that are laid out. And I'm happy to, in every email, I specifically call out those requirements for appeal. An example for an appeal is, if a player doesn't like a sanction, that's not means for an appeal. An appeal would mean I did something wrong. And I always tell the players, advocate for yourself. You're not going to hurt my feelings. So if I got something wrong, if there was evidence that they were not allowed to bring into the hearing, which I always allow evidence. And then the third would just be in the fact that it would be under extreme circumstances. So if a player didn't make it to a hearing and it turns out the player got in a car accident, let's say, that would be an extreme circumstance that we'd say, yes, we're going to redo this hearing. We're going to have it start all over again. We're going to start from the beginning. So I always lay everything out in my disciplinary sanction. So that way the player has all the information and you as coaches have all the information. And if ever there's any questions that arise in terms of discipline or misconduct, please feel free to always give me a call or send me an email. I'm always available to answer those anytime you need. Other than that, that's the really quick high-level overview of the process. I didn't think everybody wanted me to start citing different regulations and in USA Rugby and World Rugby Law because it's novel. So does anybody have any questions?
Two questions. One, appreciate you coming on and explaining this to us, Megan. I'm not a great auditory learner, but I'm curious if there is some sort of database that is collected in situations where it is brought to the disciplinary committee, and sort of a follow-up to that bit is, and maybe this is something to chat with Amanda about, but like us as coaches having access to that information throughout a season. So I'm not privy to what that's like in other leagues across the country or across the world. So I'm not sure if the MLR coaches all have the ability to, for instance, see if a player, if they are the Free Jacks coaching staff, do they have the ability to see a sanction that's been handed down for somebody from Utah, for instance? Or, in our instance, do we, number one, have a database that's being kept? Because I know you look at folks over time, right? So some of this is like any sort of acts that accumulate over time. And I'm curious if we're keeping track of that, both for the future of the league and as a way to sort of make sure players are getting like adequate punishment for their own history, I guess.
Yeah.
Long question.
So great question. And I actually have answers for you for this. So right now I'm keeping a database, right? And unfortunately I don't have like what the player's history was, say 5 years ago, right? But I always ask the player, and then I will go through and try to, figure out like, is this correct? Go through the old database systems and hope that we have reports. But so then what happens is if the player says, no, I've never had a red card before. And then I look through and I say, well, actually you had 3 last year, right? So then all of a sudden, then that's grounds for misconduct, right? Because they lied about it. So they got that 50% mitigation, and now they lied. So now they're going to get the full sanction. So in terms of a database right now, I have the database of everything that I've collected. Is it public yet? No. So right now, even MLR doesn't publicize theirs. The only people that I know of right now is World Rugby. But that will be changing, be coming up in the next registration cycle, that we will be able to have it published if WPL chooses to do so, right? It's every organization's decision if they want to do so. And that's a conversation that I will be having with the board, with WPL, to see if that is something they want to do. I will tell you that I'm not going to go into full detail about the sanction. I'll probably just reference the law that was violated. And then I won't be putting the player's name. I would just probably put the player's registration number. And that's simply just because of past history of other unions posting stuff like this publicly on a website. It's never good to publish someone's actual name. And I say that just because there was a situation a couple of years ago where a player punched another player, and it was listed in the report as an assault, and it was listed on a website, and that player, went to go get a job as an elementary school teacher and didn't get it because when they were doing a background check, they Googled his name and found it. So very cautious about what we're going to put on there. I've already been reviewing, best practices. So I do have all that ready. It's a matter of having that conversation with WPL. It's not a requirement, but it's a decision that the board will have to make. And Amanda and I can also have a conversation about that as well. But so long story short, yes, I have a database, and it is undetermined if it will be published, but at any time a coach can ask me, and I'm more than happy to provide an update on a player.
Awesome. And then my second question, so if I've got a player who gets sanctioned, right? Say we're playing Finn's team at Life West, and is it then Finn's job to report that to you? And also, say, obviously it only comes if say it's a yellow card that we feel like should be more like a red card. You know, Finn's like, wait a minute, Hannah's player did X, Y, and Z, and that's definitely a red card, right? A red card situation. Is it both us bringing that to you, or is that something that Amanda, I don't know, you can probably speak to that better. Is that like, hey, I bring it to you and then you bring it to Megan? Or is it, you know, Finn's doing that. I'm using, sorry, Finn, thanks for letting me use you as the example here. And then also in that situation, is Finn saying like, this is what the law is that applies to it? And I'm asking that specifically because sort of the situation that I think we ran into this year already that has passed, it was addressed as a tackle law. And I would have assumed it would have just fallen under foul play of some sort. And so I'm curious, like, who is making the judgment on what law is applicable in each situation, or if that is, you know, our job as coaches to bring to the disciplinary committee.
Yeah, so if you have something in that situation, so first let's go back to your first questions. I apologize. So if your player gets a red card, right? It is a responsibility of the coach and the player to self-report, right? So that's when, you know, because it's always best, right? Like hopefully I'll be getting the referee report and video as well. But it's always important that the coach and or the player self-report it to me as well, right? The more transparent, the better. The more quickly I get the information, the quicker we can get the hearing completed and the player knows they're
right. So in my crappy example, if it's my player, it's actually me reporting and us addressing that, as opposed to Finn having any responsibility when it was on their player.
Yeah. So if your player got red carded, yeah,
okay.
It's your
thank you. Yep.
Report. Yep. For your player, or your player can self-report. If there's a situation where in the game there was a yellow card and you feel it was yellow card and you felt it did raise to the level of a red card, you can submit that. Then what I do is I go through what World Rugby provides us of the red card test. So then I will go through the steps of the red card test. And if it does deem that it meets the red card test, yes. So what it would be is you would say, I would like to request a citing review. And then I review it, and I have two other people review it as well, who are judicial officers. And then we review it. If we all feel that, yes, it is warranted, it meets the level of a red card test, then we will. In some situations, we will also ask the referee, we'll show them video and ask them, you know, what was the reasoning for you to mitigate this down to a yellow? Because that's important as well. But we will do our due diligence and we will look into it.
Same with like completely missed foul play too.
Right.
Yes, 100%. Yep.
Okay, thank you. I think that's all I've got.
Awesome. Anybody else? Anything else on that? Okay, cool. Thanks for being here, Megan. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, so now it is just us. Anyway, I wanted Megan to come on because I think we hadn't well described the disciplinary process to everybody, and there's, you know, different questions I was fielding. So now we've kind of got a clearer picture of that. So awesome. And then I will just share my screen now. Hopefully. Good night, baby. And we'll take a look at, I definitely don't want to end the meeting. So I sent out the a PowerPoint, and it's kind of a conglomeration of information that's come through from World Rugby for over the last bit of time, probably since the World Cup. This is kind of their big thing right now, based on our experience at the Pac-4, is they're really looking at the upright tackles pretty closely. The problem is they're really difficult in real time without the benefit of TMO to catch some of these. So we're really looking at the tackler to be bent over like you see right here. I don't think anybody's really going to have any questions about that. The other interesting thing that they've added is we can mitigate for a passive tackler. So that just means that all of the forward force is coming through the ball carrier. And we can watch that clip if anybody wants to see that. There's two really good clips of what that kind of looks like.
So 2 for Italy. And Rigoni.
I have a check. Going to check some foul play against red.
First
Contact to the head.
TMO of the
We're
day.
going to get the angles teed up for you now, Amber.
Thank you. Time off.
So this one was called down by the TMO, and your eye almost misses it when it happens because the tackler's passive. Let's see if we can get to the replay. So 8's the ball carrier, and it's shouldered by red 10, direct to the head. As you can see, the blue tackler is the one with all of the momentum. She moves forward. Red absorbs the force and goes backwards. So that's going to be mitigated from a red card down to a yellow. Then let's see what else. I did think this slide was pretty interesting and useful to review. Everybody sort of knows in their head that if there's no real impact that will play through things, but World Rugby has gone sort of a step further here and really clarified, even if the tackler's on the wrong side, you don't expect a sanction. So I kind of look at what that looks like. She's got a pretty good picture of that ball's available and easily playable. Could pretty easily be penalties. The ball was slowed a bit, but available still pretty quickly. Oh, I'm getting the internet unstable notification. That's always nice. And I thought this was a really nice clarification too that they've made for the mall setup. The new buzzword that they're kind of using is access to the jumper. So if you get this H formation, that's what they want to see at the mall. If you get this A, then access to the ball carrier is limited by the lifters, and that is not the right picture. You get the French player coming right across there. I'm on the call right now. Can you wait? Thank you.
Amanda, what's the sanction for that though? It's
Assume that's going to be a good formation here. Yeah, so 19 comes down and she's still enough to the side that everybody has clear access to 8, who was the catcher. This is just another angle on that same. So she gets like a bit. So there's clear access all to this player's back.
Yeah, Amanda, what's the sanction on that? Because that's confusing to me that like.
So tons of information in this PowerPoint. There is nothing in it that changes anything we've been doing so far this season. It's just more stuff for you to look at and understand. Well, Hannah, yeah.
Sorry, I don't think you could hear
Why
me.
don't I
Before.
hear
Your
you?
internet is
Oh.
being.
Because I've got you muted, that's why.
Oh, well, that's
Sorry.
rude.
My bad.
It's okay. You knew I was going to say something though.
No, yeah.
Well,
What
on
do you need
that-
me to go back to?
Just that line out setup.
Uh-huh.
Number one, like what's the sanction on that? Like what's the
It'll be an obstruction penalty.
Penalty, yeah,
but,
penalty.
yeah, but why? Well, I mean, I get the penalty, but like, why does the defense get access to the jumper. If they have moved the ball, so as if that jumper has moved the ball like they are supposed to, why are we like supporting the defensive?
It would be
Mhm.
prior to the ball being moved. It's at the, as the mall is being formed, right? So
Okay,
this
so if the
person-
ball's moved beyond that jumper,
and the
then it
whole
doesn't
thing
matter what
spins,
form they take,
yeah, it's irrelevant.
right?
But as the mall is forming, they're looking for this H, not this A.
It's kind of blocking. Yeah.
Yeah, it would be
It's-
obstruction.
Yeah, obstruction, blocking before even set. So
Strange. It's like one of the most pedantic things I've seen. But I guess, yeah, it means you can't sack as well, but the ball, anyway.
I mean, a
Okay.
sack would still be
yeah,
fine.
I think the sack will be fine because now the ball carrier is exposed. So that's the
Yeah, no,
person
I
that
know,
moves
that's
it.
what, you're like basically changing it so that it is much
Yeah, yeah.
easier to sack somebody than it is.
Mhm.
But yeah, there's no change in the law here. It's just another way to think about obstruction
Mhm.
at the formation of the mall.
But you're saying it's not an obstruction if that ball has moved beyond that right away.
If the mall is formed and there's access to the person, to the ball carrier at the time of the mall formation, then you're good to go. As the ball moves backwards, the whole thing can spin and, you know, unless there's side entry or something, you're fine. Cool. Yeah, and I think that's it. They've also made the knock-ons a little bit different. We have a little bit more of a liberal interpretation we can take with intentional knock-ons now. And then just a reminder of all the stuff we have said we were going to do from the beginning. As far as our refs, we're trying not to call forward passes unless they're clearly and obviously forward. Holding the tackle and tackle assist to high standards. We want to be penalizing all high tackles. We're a little bit stricter than World Rugby on that. Although the Pacific 4 series, there was a little bit of a higher standard at high tackles than I've seen World Rugby take before. So that was interesting. We're looking to minimize scrum resets. Time wasting hasn't really been an issue in this league with the exception of setting up lineouts at times. Minimize talking as a management tool. That doesn't mean our refs will not talk. It means they don't talk incessantly. So, and then just reminders about comms with the ref team. You are more than welcome to send us anything that you have come across in your research of your team that you want clarified as far as how we will be refereeing something. If you do send us something specific to the team that's going to be your opponent, just understand we may share the answers with them as well to keep the playing field fair. Any post-match issues, just call me. I'm happy to talk about anything. You can call me. You can put it in Advantage. Nobody's really using that option this year. That's probably the easiest way is to tag stuff in Advantage. So, yep. And you're welcome to come to our meetings as always. And then we just talked to Megan. So that's it. If you catch things on review, I would encourage you to take it to Megan. She's doing a really great job for us this year. So unless there's anything else that you all want to see on that, like it's all the same. Just a few little clarifications or different ways of looking at stuff. So cool. All right. And then, the other thing that I had planned was just to look at some clips and chat through some things and see where we fall on it and how the calibration of the group is, if we're happy with the way things are being refereed or not. So if you want to do that, we can. And if you don't, because there's not a bunch of people on the call, we can skip it. So totally up to you.
We got 4 out of 7 teams here, so that's probably
Well,
something.
in the mid-season review, it was the way WPL presented it to me as having the meetings on Thursday is not working out for everybody, but
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I think best that we go through this weekend and stuff, and then I know you guys probably already did some adjustment and very clarify what you guys want as referee for the second half, and then see this first game, and then come Thursday, and then bring up some points and stuff, and go from there. I think that'll be a starting point. Hopefully, we'll get everyone on and very iron down some of this concern and stuff. So yeah, I think if it's only 4 of us tonight,
That's okay.
I think I'm okay with it.
Amanda, I'd love to go through those clips if you've got time and if.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I definitely have time.
Yeah, and the Wednesdays are better for us if we can keep them Wednesdays, but I understand if they got to be Thursdays.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Mosey,
unless we
are you all Monday, Wednesday, or are you Tuesday, Thursday?
For this month we're Tuesdays and Thursdays, as we're trying to keep Tuesday and Thursdays, but with the city where the city at right now, we might go back to Monday and Wednesday after this month, so we can keep you guys posted and stuff. So
At least
If
they're
that's
not
okay.
putting you on Sundays.
yeah, I know. So right now we're sharing it with the Water Dogs. So because they have Monday, Wednesday, they have some soccer league that's going on right now. Yeah.
Okay. All right, so Thursday's still better, at least for this month, or Wednesday's better
Yeah.
for everybody for this month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The refs really can't do Wednesday unless we can get the video sooner.
Yeah.
So,
makes
Okay.
sense.
but it's just, time constraint
Mhm.
for how long our review process takes, because it's really manual. And we did it on Wednesdays, 1 year, maybe a year or 2, 3 ago. And nobody came to the meetings even when they were on the Wednesday. So I'm not sure if day's gonna matter as much as everybody's just really busy during season. So anyway, it doesn't really matter. But if you have problems or if you want to discuss anything, just get in touch with me. I'm available all day, pretty much any time of the day for WPL. So that's what they pay me for. So let's just
Sweet.
run through these clips real quick and kind of see what we think about them. Some of them will have clearer penalties than others. So this is a line out clip.
It's amazing to watch, isn't it?
Backwards.
The line out works, but they're under
Backwards.
pressure.
So the question on this one is, what do we think about the actions in the air of the gold 7?
Grabbing. I don't know. It's not very clear, but it looks like she grabbed a hand.
Not very clear, as in you think nothing should be
Maybe.
called?
To me, it kind of looks like that 7 gold is jumping across the line in front of the white player.
Instead
So
of
that
going
would
for the
be
ball, he's
penalty right
grabbing the
there.
hand.
Yeah, jumps across and interferes with Nate.
I think-
I don't know. Nate's acting up a little though. Like she's acting it up a little. Giving it a better theater, but yeah.
I think everyone jumps across, but the grabbing of the hand is where the penalties should be, right?
Yeah, you can jump across if you're going for
Yeah,
the ball. You
yeah, for the ball, yeah,
can't
but you
take
can
the
grab.
tunnel. Yeah, but
You
I
can
think
grab-
for me, I would like to see the penalty because 7 hits her, right? So she's
Yeah.
destabilized in the air.
Mhm.
And then they don't get good ball.
So you would
So-
say it's more of the body contact into the
Yeah.
jump.
Well, she
Yeah.
takes out the lifter, which I think she lands on the lifter. See,
Mhm.
I'm pointing at my screen like you all can see me point at my screen. You would think after years of doing this, I would not do that, but I still do. Yeah, so she lands on the lifter, which then causes the jumper to be dropped, and then they've got bad ball. So I
Mhm.
think because they get bad ball, we'd like a penalty.
Yeah.
Everybody kind of happy?
Yeah.
Okay. So another line out. Looks like it's the same game. This was an interesting line out game, I guess.
Proud to be here today and watch the girls, I suppose, represent their country with Fiji. And yeah, more proud than I can express.
Do you have a problem with that?
Proud to be here today
Well,
and
he's
watch
not
the girls, I suppose, represent their country with Fiji. And yeah,
Well, he's not straight.
more proud than I can express.
There's no competition.
Yeah.
It's not straight. There's no in the tunnel. Not a chance for the defense to compete. So, yeah, not straight.
So you want a not straight call?
Mhm.
Is there a reason that they didn't call it?
Yes.
Wait, let me see.
I mean, just because Fiji's not competing at the back of this, like it is an extraordinarily wide tunnel to begin with,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is ridiculous. Like that is way too wide. But I imagine if Fiji had tried to contest this, it would be like an easier call, but that's still pretty egregious
Mhm.
because yellow's not even really in the line
And
out
I
to
just
start.
Yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned the really wide line out, because Canada was complaining that one of New Zealand's strategies is actually creating a super large gap so that the line
so
outs
they
are
step out.
contestable. Yeah.
Wow.
And yeah, so the reason they played on through this is because Fiji did not contest.
Okay.
But what do we think as a whole? Everybody wants that called not straight?
Yeah, I think just inherently it's one of those things because it can be a tactic defensively to not jump, and intentionally not jump. Like there's a lot of mental games that happen at a line out, and for Australia to still be rewarded, even though Fiji might have a tactic, it doesn't look like they do here. I actually think this is just pretty poor line out defense, but you know, if they were more spread out, even if they don't go up, they might have another plan. And so I think like without a doubt at this level, it should still be called. Like internationally, it should absolutely be called. That is non-negotiable, whether or not somebody competes in my mind.
What is the
I would say even at our level, like that's what we want to be encouraging is a hooker who can hit the back of a line out, and be straight regardless of whether somebody's going up or not. And so I think it just encourages poor execution to let it go. Doesn't hold a team accountable.
what is the law? Is it not straight regardless if the teams are contesting in the air?
Yeah, the law is that the ball has to be thrown in down the tunnel.
Regardless if the defense is contesting?
Yes. However, the law is interpreted, right? So in this situation, if you think about the line out as just a way to start the ball into play, and the team who has possession of the ball has an advantage, right, at the line out or at the scrum, because the other team infringed in some way, or, you know, put the ball into touch, whatever it was, right? So it's just supposed to be a way to put the ball into play, and there should be a fair contest. So if Fiji has chosen not to contest, then the contest was fair and it's play on. Then that is World Rugby's. This is interesting because this is one of the clips they gave me to do in the clip meeting at the Pac-4, and all of the coaches completely disagreed and wanted it called not straight. So it's interesting. It's really interesting to do. And so for me personally, this is just a little bit too not straight to not be called. Like it's almost like you're joking, right? Like throw it another foot in, and I would have been like, okay, we're playing on. So
It's interesting.
yeah. All right.
Crouch! Let's go. Bind! Knees and chest. Oh, set! Crouch! Let's go. Bind! Knees and chest. Set!
What do we think?
I think it's a harsh penalty.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I think I'd probably reset it if it had wheeled that far. That would have been when I'd
Yeah.
reset.
Shh, please. One thing I will
think-
say, it's a
yeah.
picture in isolation, so we don't know what happened. This could be the reset.
Mhm.
Amanda, what do you all, what do refs look for to call the wheel?
We're
Like,
looking
what-
for we're looking for the scrum to spin on
So
its axis,
just on its axis, okay.
right?
So
So
in this one, because the left is wheeling, but the right is not moving, that would be spinning on an axis. So if the right had gone forward, then it would have been more of a push.
yep. What we are looking for specifically, even if they, so let's say blue showed some dominance here and we got like 2 to 3 steps forward
Forward and
before
then,
it spins, then it would be going the other direction. The penalty would be going
Yeah.
the other direction
Mhm.
because blue would have shown, dominance and
Mhm.
legal drive prior to the spin. So
which is sometimes is immediately, right? That means right side pull, left side up immediately, which is wheel right away. Is that kind of
I don't know if I'm tracking what you're saying.
Yeah, you're saying basically like the 3 pulling
yeah,
most and the one giving a
one
shout.
up.
Yeah. I think that's why I feel like this is a really harsh penalty, because that number 3 or the 18 in there, to me, doesn't actually she's not getting driven back and she's not like holding back. It looks like she's actually trying to drive as well.
Mhm.
The one on red just has better shape, and the 3 on Wales just absolutely gets belted here.
I think
To-
if
like, she just
you,
gets owned.
the other piece for us as we're looking at as referees is if you watch the back row, they
Mhm.
just come around more than driving straight. You got steps out instead of steps forward. So
Yeah. Oh, okay. They do. So it's shuffling the left up.
yeah, hips.
Yeah. Yeah.
From
You see
20.
that?
So I'm pretty happy with this being a wheel. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Hannah just thinks a little harsh, Rian.
Yeah, I mean, I think if that ball had gotten stuck in there under Wales' feet anymore, that probably
Mm.
would have been a reverse penalty. Like that penalty would have been reversed because Wales just couldn't have gotten it out quickly enough, and France showed dominance in a way that Wales was moving backwards there. But yep.
So you're thinking play away because the ball was out?
Yeah, it's either play away, or if it is not out before that wheel happens again, like I'd say that's probably a reset to me. But I'm also curious, like to me, it looks like immediately when that ball goes in, Wales is looking to play that way. And it looks to me like their 3 is stepping back intentionally for them to attack to that blind side.
I mean, I would kind of beg to differ on that. I think it was pretty fair for Wales to get that penalty, because if you slow down that video a little bit more, you can see right on the engage, Free Blue is already lifting with the arm, and immediately once that happened, it starts to wheel. So there was no movement forward to define it was being pushed legally. It was an immediate wheel without any straight movement that could be deemed eligible for any other decisions.
Scrums are always fun. Here's another one.
Crouch! Bind! Set! Standing up. Crouch! Bind! Set! Standing up.
Is there an argument, Amanda?
No,
Oh, because I'm like, yeah, that's
everybody happy?
that whole front
Yeah.
row just got
Mhm.
popped up. That's
Yeah.
Yes.
I
Not a pressure, they stand up.
actually think that Canada 1 is boring in.
Yeah, I think she is. Is it relevant?
If it causes the shear across the front of that scrum towards the South Africa one, who ends up popping up, I think it's because of that.
Okay, and do you think she's actually boring, or is it the poor body shape to begin with at the engage by Green?
I mean, Green's moving on their own engage. Like there's no stability there.
Yeah,
You
look
can
at
see
it
them-
wobble.
They're like a wave.
But I
Yeah,
mean,
she's already turned before.
I would kind of agree with Finn there. If you really want to go technical, you can already see that the loose head is kind of at a 45 where it's premeditated per se to bore. So I would have went penalty for Green because the body is not square on the engage initially as well. That
But
would be
Green's
a
entire front
mitigating.
row is not square.
Yeah.
All of Canada is square to
Oh,
each
look at
other.
this.
And there's no shape on Green right now that is
Mhm.
like that. All three of those white butts should be in alignment
Mhm.
on their own put in, and they're already starting disconnected. All of Canada is square to start, whether or not she turns going in. Maybe she turns going in because she can. Because three from Green is in such bad shape already.
Yeah.
it's hard from this angle too. We have the line as an angle for which way is forward, but I think you're right. From before the put in, neither of these teams are square to each other. Right? And it was very wobbly.
Right, Joe?
Look how far that 5 from South Africa is reaching out to get around her, like to get bound on her 3.
Oh yeah, she's not even bound yet.
Like that's like that to me shows that 3's angling in already. She's reaching all the way around that. She never gets a hold of her own 3.
Yeah, they're trying to find her.
Yeah, I can't see. She's bound
Yeah.
between the legs, maybe.
Like just on the shorts, something there. Like that's
Yeah.
not a strong bind there.
Mhm.
Yeah, Green 5 is currently binding on the flanker, not onto the prop.
I think that's probably why your prop's in rough shape there.
Yeah, we're also in the 73rd minute, so I assume Canada had pretty well established dominance here in this game. But yeah. All right, this is gonna be breakdown.
No. No.
All right, what do we think?
I think Menage
I
knows
think-
better than that.
I think she did the right thing, roll left or right, but that's where the scrum half is coming from to kind of slow down the position. But I don't know. It's, it's not like she rolled towards the defense. She rolled left. But then she put herself in that position, which it should be.
The 9 also made a choice.
To go with
Yeah.
it.
I would say 9 was trying to milk a penalty because that is still perfectly legal. The attempt was being made to roll away from the 9 and not
Mhm.
into her.
Clara, the referee, obviously agrees with you that she was milking. But what do we think? How do we want this ref in our league?
I think that the 9 was probably milking it for sure, but I also am looking at it from the perspective of if that 9 hadn't come from directly behind and she was coming more from the side that the ball had come from, and you're trying to get quick ball, in order to grab that ball and go, that blue player is right there in the way. Also, though, red doesn't clear out over the ball in order to make that a quick ball in the first place. So
Well, they're pretty cleared over it.
Mhm.
It's this player's in the way. I mean, they definitely own the space. Yeah. So World Rugby wants to play through this.
did they say why?
Ball is available, and the approaching, like the ball's available really here, right? Like this 1 could have played the ball. 9 comes in and makes a choice, tries to pin this player in. Ball was still available. Ball is still available.
So it was the attempt to pin the player was the downfall.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, and the fact that her teammates aren't contesting the ruck, it doesn't put her in that position of penalty. Like the fact that everyone's staying out of it doesn't really give them an opportunity to lose that possession.
I'm all for cracking down on the milking the penalties. I think it's pretty egregious, especially on the international men's level. Anybody who listens to Aaron Smith, I understand why they're probably cracking down on it. Not that Mose ever did that. He was super quiet. He just did his job.
Yeah, never.
He never said anything, never tried to milk a penalty, never any.
Mhm.
I do think in that situation, there are a couple of things. If 9 had not actually, I think she is more likely to get a penalty on a situation like this if she finds a way and is really digging for the ball and tries to come from a position to keep that ball fast, as opposed to actually it's just to force a penalty here. And I mean, the hard thing here is if a team is not trying to play a ball fast, it doesn't really matter how slow that is.
Yeah. I think I agree. Yeah, I kind of agree with that. Like if that ball was from a break from a line break that it needs to go, but they went from a static ball to another static ball, then the referee might be like, okay. But the thing is right now, I see a lot of the international game is if the ball is available, the referee will allow them to play it until it's not available, right? I think, Menda, you think that's kind of what they're going for now?
I mean, they're definitely there.
Yeah.
She's there to slow the ball down.
Yeah.
That she's on the other side. She makes that chop tackle and she stays longer. She doesn't long roll. She gets to her knees when she rolls, right? She could easily throw her legs out right now and long roll and get out of there as quickly as possible. But she's there trying to slow that ball down, and that's definitely intentional. So, it's one of those things. Do you set the trend early and focus on the tackler and make sure that tackler is getting out of the way? Or, because I think that's the other thing is they could get away with this all game if the 9, if the referee is never going to penalize them, if the 9 continually makes it look like it's is milking it essentially.
Yeah, I would have no problem with calling the tackler not rolling here at all. I don't feel like 9s should have to milk it.
Yeah.
I don't think she'd have to. I think she probably gave up that penalty for a team by trying to.
Yes, she did. I think so too. Oh, I wish we could know whether Clara would have called it if. I don't think she would have. She was just gonna play through it.
I mean, the other thing here is like, because of the way Wales plays and because of the shape, like none of these balls are really meant to be that fast. So it's not actually inhibiting their play. You know, like this might be an extra half second in the ruck, but like Wales doesn't play a fast game until they get into or try to until they get into the 15-meter channels. So it's not really.
How
Like
much
it
does
makes more sense for them to penalize and go to their line out. That's what their goal here is.
What'd you say, Fen?
Amanda, how much does that, like thinking about what a team normally go into the decision-making process of calls during the game?
I don't think it goes very far when the game is actually going on. You know, you're gonna revert to what you're used to doing when your brain gets tired. I do think we try to think about it before a match, and we might try to think about it at halftime, like this is what they're trying to do. They need quick ball. I'm not calling tackle or not rolling. I need to adjust that slightly as I go into the next half. But yeah, I don't know that this picture in particular would get adjusted depending on which team is playing. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Oh, we're totally out of time too. You guys want to cut it? I just had 2 more. So we can be done.
Yeah.
Up to ya.
I'm down to see 2 more.
All right. Let's see. This is a mall one.
All right, thanks, Amanda. I'm out.
Great.
Yeah.
Good to see you, Mosaic.
Yeah. So you guys take care. See you on Saturday. My friend over there.
See you Saturday, Mose.
All right. See ya. You guys take care. Bye.
Right.
Happy with this one? Not happy? What do we
It
see?
bugs me. It bugs me just because the ball carrier disconnects with their shoulder a couple different times, and
Yep.
it's very blatant. And so as soon as that happens, and the referee sees the defense swimming back to get her, and then they give the ball carrier advantage, like that drives me a little crazy, because if you're gonna detach, then I have a right to swim. You know what I mean? Like,
two wrongs make a play on.
well, yeah, if you detach, you're out. I can come get you.
Okay. So interestingly, this was a complaint that was sent to me by Canada, I want to say. And they were upset that the New Zealand 2 is allowed to slip backwards. So in the old days, you could actually do that in a mall, and now you have to stay bound and the ball can be passed backwards.
Yeah, it's
And
right
yeah,
there. And
That's a
she
complete
detaches.
detachment.
Yeah, she both slips back initially on that and then detaches. And I think that would be an obstruction again right away. Or KJ can get after her. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, yeah, we're playing advantage for maybe side entry or something.
Was the advantage call she ended up calling, was it 8 going through? Is that what it was for?
I'm not really sure, but I'm assuming it might be this player right here. I can't tell who that is. They've got a taped head. Then you've got a 4 there who's kind of in the side. This 7 has joined, so it could be that person. Yeah, no telling. There's a whole slew of them doing it.
Right, if you play it just a little bit more. kind of like right here, the green player 8 right there standing up, kind of now they've got one long line of players and she
Yeah,
kind of
she's swimming through, yeah.
okay.
So it could be that. I really,
Well, it was a mess.
yeah, it's a mess in my opinion. And she could be getting information from the sideline too.
Yeah, I think if that ball gets passed back and nobody detaches, this is clearly a problem for Australia, right? They have been unable to defend this, but I think New Zealand gets the advantage here in a way that they shouldn't because of that form. And so I think the first penalty should be New Zealand, right? That as soon as that happens, that's an obstruction. And Australia at this point hasn't committed any offense, right? That detachment happens and then everything goes downhill from there. So I think it's what's the first thing that happens that and the second thing is happens is they've now created this really long line with somebody who's just worked their way to the back, and now Australia doesn't have a way to attack that. And it's
Yeah, I think the complaint was actually about the 2 slipping and not even the detachment. Because like this, was that the one right there? She could just make a tackle right there at that point of detachment. Although I see this player on the outside still remains hooked up. But anyway, seems like obstruction to me. And the slipping is a mess. World Rugby says play through it. It's pedantic.
You're kidding.
No, I'm not kidding. But I'm allowed to disagree. It's probably the kind of clip where you would show it to like, 10 different people and get 8 different answers. But on the day they told the Canadian coach that he's looking for that we don't want to go through things with a fine-tooth comb. We want to play rugby. So
I'll keep that in mind next time we talk.
yeah. All right, let's see. Not last breakdown one. So Latcher goes to ground. Ball's not available to the poacher. Agree?
Is that the penalty or is it for binding before?
It's going to be for off feet because she's allowed to pre-bind as long as there's only 2 of them. There's not 3.
Okay.
So that would be good, but she would have to keep her feet for the additional player.
Okay.
And I'm not sure what the penalty's for.
Because my first thought was that England was offsides.
Yeah, I kind of agree with the offsides.
Yeah.
It's close.
It is close.
Someone who used to push the offsides boundary.
Oh yeah, this 6 is pretty close to never onside. She doesn't make the tackle before the gain line. Interesting. Yeah, so I'm not really sure what the penalty was for. So would you rather have the offside penalty?
But it is against Wales.
Is it? You can...
Yeah, it is against Wales. So it's not the offsides penalty.
I can't see the ref. She's covered.
Thank you. And honestly, I mean, all of us know that she does eventually get back the steps. Like if you watch that through full speed, I don't think.
Oh, there she is.
Yeah. Watch it through once more. Like I wouldn't say
full speed.
Yeah, there are a million of these that happen in a game that.
Oh yeah.
Thank you. But this is again not knocking Wales, but it's like it's poor shape, poor attack from them that like doesn't help You know, I think that forward's like, what are you doing? Give me the ball. And then
But then I'd like even
lapses
just
to her 10. So
What'd you say, KJ?
well, I'm just getting picky now, but just looking at the tackle or assist with the release was only for one hand and the other hand was still bound to the, you know, so I don't think
Oh,
there was
yeah, I
a
see.
clear release on the
Boundable.
tackle or assist.
Yeah.
So it's
Okay.
just messy.
Yep. Okay, that's all I had. So thank you guys for being here. I appreciate the chat. Let me know what you need as we head into the season. I've got my meeting with the refs tomorrow. So if there's anything that you think it's important that I pass on, or if there's any feedback that you want to give to me about the refereeing, I'm happy to hear it. Oh, I did pull this up, which is sort of interesting. This is how we're doing for the season so far as a WPL, right? So we're averaging 57 points a match with 22 penalties. It's pretty good. Kind of shoot for 20 penalties in a game if we can. You know, it's always going to be in a range, probably between, hey, you guys, can you be quiet, please? I'm on a call. Thank you. I think they think I'm sitting here talking to myself about rugby. Yeah. So we're averaging about 9 tackle penalties a game. And 4 foul play, 4.5. Scrum ball out at 80% is really great for a league. Scrum advantage running at 57%, penalty advantage at 26%, which the average in the upper leagues is like 20% gained. So
do you know what the other leagues in terms of the breakdown of penalties there? Is that fairly consistent? Like twice as many tackle as ruck? Because I would imagine you're going to run into a lot more ruck penalties in sort of the Prem version of things.
yeah, we're a tick high, really. I think they run 8 and 6. And we're looking at 9-2 and 4-6, so we're not far off. And not surprising to me either that we would go this way, because we've been hammering the tackler first in the United States longer than they have internationally, which they've only just started sort of putting the focus on it in that way. And because they want at the upper levels on TV, they want the poach.
Yeah.
So they are not as harsh on the tackler. This is interesting. The Grey Wolves, too bad Mose's off. The Grey Wolves are leading the league in penalties by a pretty good amount per match. And then the Zons, whoever plays against the Zons has a lot more penalties than the Zons do. So you guys are not risky enough, I think, is what I'm getting out of that.
Dude, we just need to find some aggression. I don't know.
Foul
I
play.
don't know. We'll figure it out.
Yeah. And this one's kind of funny too, because I guess you don't want to be New York, because New York's opponents are committing the most foul play against them in every
Foul
match.
play, like, is that a tackle included in that?
A tackle that
Like a high
is-
tackle? is
Yeah, a
foul
high
play?
tackle, yellow cards, red cards, which I think we've only had one this year, or we had 2. Yeah, so any foul play like obstruction or
Man, this is awesome. I am new to the coaching side, obviously, so I've never seen this before, but I love stats.
yeah, well,
Can I call you and we can nerd out?
yeah, we
Mhm.
can tell.
I want to keep everyone on for 2 more hours. but-
Yeah. No, we can do it anytime. And then it even breaks down, like, so I can look at what like where the refs are doing the most penalties, who's the most accurate, least accurate, whatever, stuff like that. So interesting. So Paolo, the World Rugby ref who came and did the New York League, had the most tackles at the penalty than any of our refs have. So it's kind of interesting. But anyway, that's all. Everybody can go to bed now. Thank you for indulging me. And anything you need during the season, yep, let's have a good second half, I guess. So
We're excited.
That's
Cool.
really cool. Thanks, Amanda.
yeah, absolutely. Talk to you later.
Thank you.
Night, everyone.
Night.